Today there was a Smash Direct where Sakurai probably announced the 5th and final fighter for the first pass. I don't really know for sure though, because I'm recording this ahead of time, because that's my weekly workflow. But whatever they announced, there was a Smash Direct. And then last week we had a Pokemon Direct, and despite more Pokemon related controversy, it happened. It was good, and AJ made a video about it 2 days ago that you should check out. But I know what you're all thinking, and I'm kind of thinking it too. Where's the January Nintendo Direct? And then obviously wondering what they will show. Well, let's talk about it. We'll spend most of this video talking about the what that would be in this Direct. So I'll go ahead and get out of the way my thoughts on the when of the Direct. Spoiler alert, I don't really know. And I wouldn't claim to be able to read the stars and divine its date. I could just as easily have seen it happen last week or this week as I could next week or the following one. And the 5th character of the Fighter's Pass has already gotten announced, I assume. So the logic that says we need a Direct ASAP because the Fighter's Pass character has to be announced by a certain date isn't really applicable anymore. So really there's nothing telling us it has to be in January, but it also could very well happen one of the next 2 weeks. The only thing that we can know basically for sure is that it'll happen within this first quarter, just because that's how Nintendo has operated since the dawn of Directs. But that said, I still have a good feeling it'll be in January, and my gut says next week. But let's move past that and to the fun part. What could this Direct announce? This should be fun. So first things first, under other circumstances, my guess, and likely that of many others, would have been for the opener or closer of the Direct to be the Smash Fighter number 5. But sounds like we just found out who that was today, so basically that disqualifies it from being a major Direct reveal. And if I'm being honest, I'm thrilled about this. Because while Smash characters are fun and exciting, for someone like me who's generally moved on from Smash, that's just new content for an older game, which is awesome, but I'd much rather it be replaced with new announcements of new games. I could still see them saying some kind of update though, like, remember that this fighter is coming out in this many days, or that it gets shadow dropped that day. Or maybe even they make mention that they'll continue to make new fighters as they've said before. But I'd guess that this would be an aside rather than a focal point of the Direct. However, all good Directs recently have opened and closed with a big announcement. So I think the one that they'll open with this time will be to finally show off Bayonetta 3 again. They'll show a cinematic trailer followed by a little bit of gameplay, and it'll end with summer 2020 release window. I think it'll actually come out sometime around the end of August or beginning of September like Astral Chain did in 2019. But the release date will be surprisingly soon for how little we've seen about it for so long now. On the tail of this, we'll get a short trailer for what Camelot has been working on since Mario Tennis Aces. And although I desperately want it to be Golden Sun, it's going to be the most painfully obvious announcement, Mario Golf. Although golf is a sport that really shouldn't be fun as a video game, it's fun as a video game. And this will look like a return to form, bringing back a story mode similar to Mario Tennis Aces, and they'll have a release window of spring and release in early June. But the story mode will be fairly bare bones, and it'll follow similar growth pattern to Mario Tennis Aces of free DLC characters doled out a bit too slowly, but I think the mechanics will be well implemented. But you know what? Some third-party franchises need to also get some recognition. If the Direct lands on January 31st or February 13th, we're likely to get some Devil May Cry 3 announcements of new exclusive content for the Switch version, and so on. But we also recently heard from our friends at Loot Pots that the BioShock collection was rated for Switch, so we'll most likely get a trailer and release date for that collection coming out, I think, this summer. Furthermore, there are sources that seem to suggest that Metro Redux, a first-person shooter from 2014, and Saints Row 4 also could be coming over to the Switch, which, fit in this whole narrative anyway. Finishing off the rumor-based content, we also are almost definitely going to see the trailers for a release of 2 Wii U ports, as Emily Rogers reported, and many others have seemed to corroborate it. The first of these seems very likely to be Super Mario 3D World. This game will come over and have exclusive content. That part is almost certain, but what exclusive content comes over is definitely worth wondering about. You can speculate for yourself, but I'm pretty sure it's a funky mode. The other one sounds very likely to be Pikmin 3. The question here is whether or not this would be a tie-in with a Pikmin 4 trailer, and if you ask me, it has to be. I suspect the Pikmin 4 portion would be just a teaser trailer, and I don't think that it would be the direct closer because I'm just not sure that Nintendo has quite that much faith in it from a publicity standpoint. But I could certainly be wrong. I think here they'll solidify that they are working on Pikmin 4 and it's not too far off, although likely not a 2020 game, but rather in 2021. Super Mario 3D World will launch in April and Pikmin 3 in May or July. But moving back away from Nintendo again, we're in for much more third-party content, and I think one of those announcements could be more on the Ubisoft title that's meant to release this year, Gods and Monsters. Once again, this seems to be a Breath of the Wild style game that will release on every platform, so on its theming alone, it's bound to do great on the Switch, as long as it runs well, which it should considering Mario plus Rabbids and Starlink. I think we're also liable to get a couple announcements from JRPGs in this direct. I don't know exactly which ones, and although I would say Trials of Mana, I don't think there's much more new information to give other than showing more gameplay. We could see an update from Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles perhaps, or maybe Bravely Default 2, but other years we've seen many Final Fantasies, Dragon Quests, Ys, Rune Factory, Grandia, Star Ocean, and so on, so that genre is ripe for even more entries shown in this direct. And then there are several games that will be coming out this year, but we're missing information on. Not all of these are going to show up here, but some of them might. That's No More Heroes 3, but we just got a new trailer at the Game Awards, Panzer Dragoon Remake, Ninjala, Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, and then ones like Shin Megami Tensei 5 that we know will get updates sometime, but we don't know when. Any of these could show up, but I'm expecting Xenoblade Chronicles to fall in the December time slot like Xenoblade Chronicles 2 did, and I'm just not sure that any of these will show up in this direct. But at most directs, Nintendo prefaces it by saying, tune into this direct for 40 minutes on 2020 games and a focus on such and such game, which I think we can all agree here would be Animal Crossing. I think there's still a lot we don't know about Animal Crossing. Of course, I don't know exactly what that is, but I think everything they've shown right now seems awfully like very early game content. And I wonder if they're going to introduce a new mechanic or two, as well as show just a little gameplay of what your town could look like once you've invested a few weeks, months, or years into it. I also think we'll get a specifically Animal Crossing Direct at the beginning of March, a couple of weeks from release, that will last somewhere around 15 minutes and go over some more details on the game. But for now, everyone who's hyped about Animal Crossing is over the moon, but Nintendo needs to broaden that scope with a new trailer revealing how much more there is to do in this game. And sometimes I think Nintendo has landed on having the game they spend lots of time on being the closer of the show. But the last few directs seem to have showed us that they've learned that it's better to nestle it in the middle so the direct can really go out with a bang. And what better bang than Zelda Breath of the Wild 2? I know there's differing opinions on whether that game will come out in 2020 or not, but I'm in the camp that either it is, or when they showed it last year, they really hoped that it would. And obviously, I hope so too. They won't give us a specific day right now, but they'll tell us the release window is holiday 2020 or just 2020, and we'll get more specific direction for the game as well as maybe see some gameplay. Once again, I'm not expecting anything huge, but this will be the big game to theme their E3 around this year, so we can be excited to see a lot there. And I just will be super excited about it, and that's all. Obviously, there will be a lot more varied announcements shuffled in there, but that's my guess is at the main highlights of the directs that could happen anywhere between now and early March. But that's what I think. What do you think? Let me know all that and more in the comments down below, and we'll pull a couple of those comments to talk about on our podcast this weekend called Directly to You, which goes up every Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern time on youtube.com/directly to you. And while you're down there, be sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe to fanatixfour for more content like this every Tuesday and Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern time. And also, you should ring the bell. I don't watch YouTube the same way most people do, I think, but I'm pretty sure the way most people do means that if you don't have that bell rung, you may want to see our videos but not notice them when they go up because YouTube sometimes, hides stuff and whatever. And that would be a shame. All right, well, that's it for me. See you next week, hopefully after a direct.